Gentleman's time has expired. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Pitts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for holding this hearing. Like all of us, I believe we should work to decrease the amount of greenhouse gas emissions in our atmosphere and be good stewards of this earth and its resources. However, I don't see how these 3 days of marathon hearings will shed light on how the discussion draft of the Cap and Trade Act proposes to actually decrease greenhouse gas emissions and not cause devastating harm to our economy. The discussion draft is incomplete. The most important provision regarding the allocation of allowances has yet to be decided or even written. Because of this, CBO said they cannot score the bill. And industries, and thus consumers, cannot truly define how the bill would impact them. How then can we have legislative hearings and engage in fruitful dialogue and debate about a bill that is incomplete? Even though the most critical portion of the bill is not included, we can talk about the numerous ways in which this bill will inevitably increase energy cost and negatively impact working families across America. The last major cap and trade provision considered in Congress was the Warner-Lieberman Climate Security Act. As far as decreasing greenhouse emissions, according to the Institute for Energy Research, Warner-Lieberman would have only reduced global temperatures by 18/100ths of 1 degree by 2050. As far as economic impact, according to the Heritage Foundation, in the first 20 years alone, the ramifications of that bill would have resulted in aggregate real GDP losses of nearly $5 trillion. In the first 20 years, it would have destroyed 900,000 jobs and cost nearly 3 million job losses in manufacturing sector by 2029, many jobs driven overseas. In my state of Pennsylvania, it was projected that over 94,000 jobs would have been lost in the manufacturing sector by 2030. Yet, the Waxman-Markey draft is far more sweeping than Warner-Lieberman, and thus economic consequences will be even worse. The bill imposes a tax on every energy producer for their carbon emissions. This tax will most certainly be passed on to consumers. President Obama acknowledged this in a meeting with the editorial board of the San Francisco Chronicle in January of '08 when he said, quote, "Under my plan of a cap and trade system, electricity rates would necessarily skyrocket. That will cost money. They will pass that money on to the consumers," end quote. In Pennsylvania, 56% of energy demand relies on coal. With the advent of a harsh energy tax that discriminates against coal-powered electric utilities, hardworking families will have to devote a larger proportion of their income to increasing energy prices. Every American realizes that we're in a time of economic trouble. So we must ask the question, is it prudent to pass a cap and trade bill which will increase the cost of energy and conceivably cause 3.75 million job losses? Is it prudent to pass legislation that will make matters even worse by levying a new national energy tax that could cost families over $3,100 per year per family? Mr. Chairman, we need to carefully consider the negative impact that a cap and trade bill will have upon our economy. I do not believe it is in the best interest of American families to pass a bill that will make their way of life harder and more challenging by job losses and higher energy costs. In addition, despite the harmful economic consequences, the bill is even short-sighted in what it considers alternative and renewable energy. Nuclear energy, a prime source of clean energy, is entirely excluded from this bill, as is waste energy, which has been successfully used in my district for decades to produce energy from municipal solid waste. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, I hope that these hearings will be substantive, clarify several aspects of the discussion draft that are puzzling at best and harmful to the consumers at worst. I look forward to hearing from our witnesses over the next 3 days, and I yield back.
We thank the gentleman.